When my classmates and I arrived here in the summer of 1958, Furman Schmidt was the guardian. And we did the ordinary things, cutting grass and washing windows, taking care of the priory. But in the evenings, we played softball. We had a big enough class to form a team, and Bishop Furman, Father Furman at that time, encouraged me to call other colleges, and I did that. I phoned the other colleges around and see who could play softball against us. So in the evenings, after the evening meal, we would play softball against the Augustinians and the Marist, other groups. Those two groups were the ones we played most often. It strikes me a very, very happy memory of what we did in the opening year. We had a major celebration in 1959. That was when our St. Lawrence of Tennessee was declared a doctor. Here in Washington, Furman Schmidt and a couple other leaders planned a 3-day celebration that would invite all the Capuchins to come. We would celebrate at the shrine. I remember the busloads of students coming from New York and New Jersey, perhaps other places as well. But we had a big crowd. They did not stay here. They stayed at a motel in Brooklyn. But we had 3 beautiful days at the shrine. I remember Bishop Fulton Sheen was one of the speakers. Furman himself gave a talk on Mary, Blessed Virgin Mary, in the writings of Lawrence of Tennessee. Other prominent writers gave talks during those 3 days. It was a great celebration. We had a great faculty. They spoke about $1 million faculty. And I was thinking, today's turn to be $10 million faculty. It was really a good group. I remember especially Father Miles Schmidt, Furman Schmidt himself. We had Norbert Miller, Edmund Quinn, Ronald Muller, Charles Hubler, Steve Rowe, Giles Staub. Wonderful teachers. Some better than others, but I enjoyed my studies here. It was during the time I was here too that Furman Schmidt was named the apostolic, the prefect apostolic of Mandi in Papua New Guinea. That was a big event too. So I'm very happy to be back in Capuchin College.
And tell them the story about the missions when you got called, when you wanted to go to the missions. What did that do? I love this.
When I was called to go to the missions in Papua New Guinea, everybody in Pittsburgh knew that Coleman and I, my classmate, had been appointed to go to Mandi. And the next morning, everybody in the friary knew we were going to go. And they're asking, Brian, what are you going to do when you get there? I used the word help a number of times. I'm going to help build, because I knew the friars are building a lot of churches, aid posts, schools, all throughout the diocese. And other things I was going to help with. Well, the mission secretary at that time was Ed Picus. And he got up and said, if that's all you're going to do, you might as well stay home. So I went to see him that afternoon and asked him, what did he mean? He said, when you go to the missions, you don't go to help. You got to bring the love of Christ to the people there. You help them in many ways, yes, but the main thing, bring the love of Christ to them. Then you'll be a real missionary.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you so much. You're going to just stay up here. That's fine. Praise the Lord. So now we're going to introduce. We're so happy to have all the living guardians, all the guardians of Capuchin College were able to make it. Unfortunately, Ward was not able to make it. Ward Stakem and Jim Mankus were both unable. But all the other living guardians are here, and this is one of those guardians we're about to introduce. But also more than that, again, like Francis Fugini and many others here, he's a giant of our province. He was here in his student years in the late 50s, early 60s, but then he was guardian in the early 70s as the council came. So we're interested in hearing whatever you have to say, Bob. But a great hero of all of ours who's here now with us, Bob McCreary.
If we would situate the 1960s, this is the time where you have the explosion of the culture, and we have the drugs and sex and the war in Vietnam. All these things were happening. And we experienced here too, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, riots. And very interesting, because the guardian was Father Mao Schmidt, and Mao Schmidt would be the center of what I want to talk about. That Mao Schmidt did what we had been moving towards all along. When the riots came, we went to the riots. The guys went down, and they were putting together food for people who couldn't get out of their homes. They were working very hard in the streets. And Thaddeus Posey drove me down at that moment. It was a very remarkable moment. Jumped out of his car, left me alone in the car. It was a little frightening. But I think that our movement towards the black people was the same movement that we had already begun to make towards the Hispanic people and the Puerto Rican people, or New Guinea people. That the beauty of the men who taught us what Capuchin life was included prayer life, but it also included moving towards the people in their needs. So all through my clericate, there was this story that there's a mission, a very difficult mission in Papua New Guinea, and it would take courageous men to go there. And many of the guys in our clericate in those days went to Papua New Guinea and also to Puerto Rico. In our movement towards New Guinea at that time, we were also sending sometimes 4 out of 5 guys in a class to Puerto Rico, which was also a great love for us. And Sean has been very instrumental in his love for the Latino people, for our province to gain a deeper sense of not just the Puerto Ricans, but all the Latinos who are immigrants and part of our wonderful parish at Sacred Heart, Moy, and Kevin being here tonight. God bless you. So it's a movement in our province with great men, and I feel Brian spoke of great men. And I think that really one of the most great men was Mao Schmidt. That he allowed the students information, trusted them that they would go out to be with the people without failing to do their fraternal life here. And I think many of the friars in this room are the fruit of that wonderful work of Mao Schmidt. I don't think there's anybody, in my mind, more influential than Father Mao Schmidt in his attitude of graciousness and kindness and just marvelous stuff. But what it struck me when I look back, it struck me that my own vocation as a Capuchin, which came from my home parish in Rochester, where my Capuchins took my father, a doctor, to visit poor people, and that attracted me very much to not be a Benedictine, but to be a Capuchin. And I love my life as a Capuchin, but I love the men who are so greater than I am. And Miles is that man for my mind. I've said many times he never said a word that wasn't charitable. He was always a very charitable man. And he had many limitations, but he was just a tremendous man. Go to the people, love the people, be a brother to the people. All that our present general is inviting us to be. So when I talk about the 60s, when many other orders were completely upset because of the sex scandals or this drugs or the war, we had another passion, and the passion was really be brothers, say our prayers, and go to the people. And it was just gorgeous. That's why being a Capuchin is such a beautiful thing. I am so happy that I see so many of my brothers being greater than I am by far, even among the young men. And it's just the way it's supposed to be. So I thank the Lord for that.
Amen. Amen.